It is 11:47 p.m.
We've been sitting here since 11:45.
Shitting.
Just, bitching about work, about our kids, about the fact that we don't remember to hang the posters up announcing this podcast anywhere, ever.
Yeah, so, this is gonna be the 5th episode, and we're gonna be launching soon.
Yeah.
We're finally here, several months in. Couple months later than we wanted to be.
Yeah.
But
and hopefully sometime between this recording and launch, I'll actually put posters up.
And we'll actually be launching sometime between now and New Year's.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say the date.
Just in case.
But I'm going to be hopefully posting our launch announcement soon. But anyway, for all of you out there,
welcome to Celluloid Chronicles,
a historical movie podcast.
I'm Brick.
I'm Birdy. I am going to throw in appropriately in the episode instead of a cut-in.
Yeah, Birdy remembered this time.
A trigger warning for this episode. Please expect some paranormal horror. There will be murder. There will be themes of assault, death, and manipulative abuse. Just so you know. What are we doing today?
So this one was my pick, and we are going over Late Night with the Devil. And I first heard about this movie from another movie podcast, The Horror Virgin, and they have the horror podcast and then the rom-com podcast. I loved the coverage of it, and I even ended up stopping the episode so I didn't know how it ended so I could watch the movie first. And so glad it is such a great movie.
It feels really good, honestly.
Love it. Nice pace. It keeps rolling. I did not see some of the stuff that was gonna happen. I did not expect.
No, it was really awesome. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't heard of this movie till Brick told me about it, which is sad because it came out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It was very recent, and it actually had some, at least the main actor, I've seen him before.
Yes.
And I had no idea about this movie, but I when I watched it, I actually watched it with my husband, and we were very pleased. It didn't have anything I couldn't watch because I don't do gore. We mentioned that last episode, but it was actually quite a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
For a horror film.
I'm very happy with it. And I don't have in fun facts, I didn't write down the budget, but couldn't have been high. No, it was such a small budget. And that's one of the reasons they have so many production. I did write that down. 9 production companies.
Yes. I've seen, when I was looking at this film, I saw a lot of jokes about going into the film oh, this is the start of the movie. Oh, this is the start of the movie. Oh, this is the start of the movie. But it was really just the production companies, little inserts.
Yep. Yeah.
I get it. Actually, I didn't notice that other than, Shudder. Which I really like that film company streaming service. Shudder streaming. Shudder.
Yes.
SHUDDER.
That was one that I had a long time ago, and we canceled it when we were trying to save money.
Right.
And I think I might need to do it again.
Yeah, I think I watched it when you had it, borrowed. And I also watched a couple movies on that service when my grandma had cable. This was years ago. Watched a couple movies on there and really liked that service. So I was excited to see it here. But obviously that was one of many for this movie. This was a new era for us to take in. This is probably one of the most recent time frame eras we've covered. Obviously, we did mention in our first or second episode about, we're willing to do anything historical, and that includes the quote unquote modern era.
Yeah.
And so here we are in the 70s, and the 70s are quite interesting.
Yeah.
I could probably go on and on about them. It was
so much.
the beginning of the end of so many things. And this movie actually gave us an actual date. So 1977 specifically.
Yep. And there is a reason for that.
Yep. And I love when these movies give us an exact year. 1977, pretty much 10 years before I was born.
Yeah. Same. Do you want to tell us a little? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. My mother had just turned 17.
Oh my God.
Yeah. MASH was still on the air.
Oh.
It was 2 years after the end of the Vietnam War. And it was the year following America's 200th national anniversary. So we are in a certain time period. We've jumped forward. So I was actually really amused that we were worried this movie wouldn't give me enough history to dive through. But I came out of this viewing with at least 21 points of interest. So basically about as many as The Other Boleyn Girl, our first episode. So needless to say, I had to pare down what I wanted to cover. I'm just going to start here. This movie's a little different just because it was more of a vibe movie, right? There's not like actual history being covered, and yet it is.
Yeah.
Like this movie felt specifically made for certain reasons, and I'll get into that a little bit here. So this movie was seemingly centered around reality television, right? Television as entertainment and what today we'd call making content, quote unquote. What's interesting is that the writer chose the 70s to base this story in. So Brick might have more about that on why the writer...
Go if you want to go right ahead. If you want.
I don't know. This is all speculation on my part. So it's interesting, and they definitely could have chosen any decade since the 40s, which was the first kind of talk show being the Ed Sullivan show that started in 1948. So immediately I was intrigued that they chose the 70s because from my understanding, this decade was a turning point in television, all right? Especially bringing in that reality to TV. Obviously, reality television has always existed, but it took off even more, possibly to the detriment of further decades.
Yeah.
You know, we're thinking about the 90s and the aughts, the Big Brother. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
if I could just
go ahead.
Drop it in. So I was thinking you meant like why they chose that the 1977 specifically.
I don't know
in
that. Yeah.
In the 70s.
Okay.
But you're right. They absolutely did choose the 70s itself on purpose, and really exactly what you were just talking about, the vibe, because the brothers who wrote this, directed it and everything, they grew up watching these late night shows in the 70s, and it was this, to them, it was like this look into the adult world, and it was really edgy, and they were, kind of taboo, and they were doing like showing all these things that they've never showed before. So like the 70s really, really was like a pioneering time for television in so many ways, but especially talk shows, because they would just put the wildest, craziest shit out there.
And what's also interesting is that they haven't really shown a lot of it since. Yeah. For that same reason.
That's why we get like clip shows of that stuff.
Yes.
They can see very specific things.
This was a very specific period for television, and I think they were speaking to that a lot in this movie.
Absolutely.
Watching this, I immediately went back to, and I rewatched a bit. I wasn't able to watch a lot of it, but I watched this documentary, and it's in my sources. It's called The 70s by CNN. CNN's The 70s. It's like this mini series, and they did it for every decade.
I remember starting to watch that, and
it's so good.
Never finished it, so I will definitely click on that source.
It's worth watching it again. I'm going to rewatch it. I was only able to get to this first episode, which I picked this episode specifically, and it was the first episode of the mini series that specifically talked about television and what it meant for television. What they specifically said was like the 50s are known as the golden age of television, where sitcoms, variety shows, and other scripted entertainment came on the scene. Then the 60s really brought in a lot of the faster news coverage and on the ground footage and like a lot of this violent news coverage in a lot of ways. So the Vietnam War and race riots and
police brutality. That was the first time people were actually seeing it happen.
The assassinations. And then in the 70s, these two realms merged into the topical and challenging forefront of the issues that America faced. It brought these worlds together. So these race relations, the war, Vietnam specifically, abortion rights, women's rights, even gay rights, all found a place on television, and talk shows followed that. It was
they would have been seeing a lot of like the segregation.
Yes. So
as well, people that, you know, I'm sure probably thought like, oh, it's a sunny, happy world everywhere.
Yeah, it was reality television that brought these two worlds together. It was a meeting point between fact-based visuals and entertainment visuals. And what's so interesting is like this sets the basic scene for what we want to understand about this movie. And today, it often feels like we're going through another 70s-esque era. And I don't know, Brick, but I feels like this was what the writers were kind of going for. And I feel like since what you just mentioned, It's coming through.
Yes.
It's coming through.
Yeah, definitely.
We got it. Like, media today is always chasing the next big thing, looking for views, looking for content. The more extreme, the better. And a lot of the stuff in the 70s followed that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is necessarily associated to any one channel or network, but there was apparently a saying in the 70s for news channels: if it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
And I think they talk about that in the Christine movie.
Well, what's really interesting about that exact line is that also harkens back. So what's interesting about doing history is cycles.
Yeah.
It will always come back. So that line, it bleeds, it leads. I'm thinking off the top of my head here, but that was like the same exact line in the 20s, and it was the same exact line in the late 1800s, like yellow journalism, right? That started in the late 1800s, probably the 1870s. Who knows? Like, it was there, and you know, we go through these cycles and we're coming back upon that cycle. Yeah. So like this movie feels less about historic fact and more about historic vibes. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Maybe this a little different than what we usually do, but it's all
right
vibes,
though. That is absolutely right. What they were going for.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I really love that. It's really speaking to our current media environment. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty we can call to attention specifically, and I'll bring all that. But it's just something to say right at the beginning that we're talking about the vibes of the 70s, and those vibes are reverberating today. Oh, do you want to bring us right into that movie?
Sure. So just quick note, this is a 2023 independent film written, directed, and edited by Colin and Cameron Carnes, with a world premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival March 10th, 2023. What I'm going to get into first is this kind of opens documentary style, and it's a prologue, and it's going to give us a lot of the groundwork that we need to know. And I really like the way they did that. Yes. So we have all the groundwork for Jack, and then when they need to lay the groundwork for June and Lily, they do it kind of the same way. I really like that.
Also, they lay the groundwork for the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I tried to piece apart like everything they showed. I couldn't pick out everything, but I picked out a lot of stuff.
Yep.
So anyway, go ahead.
And some of the footage that they use for the church.
Oh, the Abraxas cult.
Yes. And
spoilers.
Yeah. And the standoff, that was the Symbionese, I'm pretty sure I still have it written down, but anyways, militant group that kidnapped Patty Hearst. That is the actual footage from that standoff.
Damn, I didn't even pick that out.
I didn't know until I heard the fun facts when I was looking it up. Okay. So as I said, we open in a documentary style, and it is showing us kind of the darker, seedier side of the 70s. We are seeing the gas crisis, police brutality, Vietnam, pollution, Nixon, and a growing revival of interest in the occult.
Yes.
But worry not, because there is something that can give you that warm, fuzzy feeling and radio personality turned late-night host, Jack Delroy. Jack Delroy's first episode of Night Owls debuts April 4th, 1971, and we see scenes from his show, including a bug expert lady, and that is a technical term, who came to show off with like this big-ass spider that gets loose in the audience, and his assistant has to like go after it.
Yeah, that was funny.
And yeah, we see a couple, just little things his show throughout the time. We see him, he signs a 5-year deal with the station UBC. And I don't know if you caught this, but you can hear a reporter ask him, "What did you have to sacrifice to get here tonight?"
Oh, I did not catch that. And I watched that twice.
It was very quiet. You could barely hear it over like the clicking of the cameras.
Okay.
I didn't catch it until I was watching it this last time.
Okay.
We learn that Jack is a member of a men's society called The Grove, which is located at a camp in the California Redwoods. And members of this are elite politicians, entertainers, big businessmen, and to the outside world, it is considered, quote, a harmless summer camp for the rich and powerful, unquote. And membership in this can really boost your career. So this is great because although he's doing well, he never quite reaches Johnny Carson ratings. We are next told about his wife, Madeline, who is the love of his life and his inspiration. But in 1976, Madeline is diagnosed with cancer, and she goes downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah.
She appears on a guest on the show, and she dies, I believe it was 2 weeks after. And he takes about a month off, and he comes back, and he's determined that he is going to be the highest rated late night show. In his pursuit of that, this leads to very controversial guests and topics. So, that is where we're getting into, as Birdy was talking about, that vibe. So the sort of things that he would never have done before. And I didn't think about until I was making my notes that they specifically said Madeline was his inspiration. So I wonder if he just couldn't come up with the content anymore. They continue on through, he's courting these very controversial topics, and this leads us to the episode in question. It is Halloween 1977, and also the start of Sweeps Weeks, which will determine where Night Owl ranks in the national ratings. And to add to the pressure, his contract with UBC is set to expire, and if this does not go well, there may not be an option to renew. And so we are here, Halloween 1977. It needs to be his biggest show yet, and we are told that from here on out, the events are documented by the master tape of the show itself and backstage footage.
Yeah, so this is really interesting, and like we mentioned before, he's competing with The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Obviously, that's a real show. That was actually a huge show in the 70s and actually had been going for quite a while. I'm not sure if I have that exact date because I know...
I think, was that the one you said started in the 1940s?
No, that was the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh,
the Ed Sullivan Show went from 1948 to the 70s, a really long time, honestly. I don't want to say an exact date, but it really went a long time. So a lot of there was these huge, this was really the start of the variety shows and the talk shows. So we got the Carol Burnett Show, which I remember watching some reruns on that.
Oh, I love her.
The Campbell Good Time Show, which I didn't quite hear about, but once I saw some clips of that, I was like, oh, that was a thing that existed.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've heard
that. I vaguely recognized it. The Don Knotts Show. Okay. I remember Don Knotts. Saturday Night Live kind of started in this time. And, Johnny Carson. I also felt like they might have been alluding to, like, especially with like this specific show, this obviously happened after. So I'm thinking Ghost Watch 1992.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously,
Yes,
that was way past the 70s.
It was, but it was an inspiration.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I caught that. Because
I've never heard of it. I've never seen it.
You hadn't?
No.
It shows up. If you watch a lot of spooky stuff, like, I don't even remember, like, I watch a lot of YouTube. Well, I'm just going to put that out there. I watch a lot of YouTube. And sometimes when they talk about, like, paranormal famous recordings and stuff, they talk about Ghost Watch 1992 by the BBC.
Okay.
Is what I'm talking about. And it was this hoax. It was very, what was the radio show? War of the Worlds. It was very War of the Worlds, 1940. Was that the 1940s or 30s?
I believe it was the 40s.
Anyway, it was an old radio show that was also a hoax, but an intended hoax. It wasn't meant to be fake.
Right.
Ghost Watch wasn't meant to be fake. Like, people watching it should have known it was fake, but people believed it.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I don't know anything about it yet. I saw it came up when I was researching fun facts, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I gotta watch that."
Yeah, so it was basically BBC. This I'll just go right into it. Like, this BBC crew that on Halloween night they set up this whole thing because even in 1992, they took inspiration from like the Enfield ghost tapes, which I'll talk about later. They took, these recordings of spooky stuff. And so they did this whole fake documentary. It was like an hour long or so show where these journalists went to this house with this family where there was spooky stuff going on. And it got real crazy with like, quote unquote, actual footage, but people watching it thought it was real. And so they were calling in and everything, and it became this huge thing. And like, it was actually banned from reruns for quite a long time. And it's actually really hard to still watch as an actual like show. And this is all I'm remembering off the top of my head too. But it was this paranormal demonstration basically, but it was fake. And they intended it to be fake, but people thought it was real. And this whole movie kind of alludes to that.
Yeah.
Like, it obviously...
I can absolutely say yes, it was an inspiration. And cool. It does make me want to watch it.
Wow. I'm like
you were on
point for this movie. Like, this movie was made for me. Anyway, definitely... This is inspired by prominent shows of the 1970s. And like we already mentioned, the way they introed this whole movie with like just shots of the world as it was in the 70s was like significant. So just to like, I think it bears saying some of the stuff that the 70s was going through, which also cycles back to and harkens to what the fuck we're going through today.
Yeah.
I won't even go into that. I'm just going to talk about what was in the 70s and how much this movie was like, shit, we're going through the 70s again.
Yeah.
All right?
It was a time.
It was a time. So obviously in the movie, they have some clips about the gas shortages of the 70s, which occurred in 1973 to 74 and 79 to 1980. The first was a result of the Arab oil embargo during the Yom Kippur War, and the second was caused by the Iranian Revolution. So both events led to long lines at gas stations, rationing, and significant increase in fuel prices. And again, this wasn't that long ago because I specifically remember my family talking about those times.
Yeah.
So specifically waiting in line for gas. Also 1969, so not quite in the 70s, but they showed the Manson murders, which the trials would have happened in the early 70s. So we got the Manson murders, the Tate LaBianca murders, which we mentioned with
Roman Polanski,
Sharon Tate's murder. Yeah. We also had several serial killers happening. They showed specifically David Berkowitz. I think they showed one more, but I couldn't recognize him. So, like, they were showing a bunch of people. Some we couldn't even figure out. We got Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, David Berkowitz, which we saw, Ed Kemper, Dennis Rader, Dean Corll, Richard Cunningham, Herbert Mullen, like, they were all going at this time. And then we'll get to the cults, which during that time, Children of God, which was the Family International, Synanon, Heaven's Gate was founded in 1974. The Manson family, Jim Jones, the People's Temple, the massacre happened in 1978. The Munich Massacre of 1972, all the airplane hijackings in the 70s because there was no security, the Weather Underground bombings, which I hadn't even heard of, but there was like in the FBI and stuff, like people were targeting like FBI spots. Like that's a whole other discussion point. And then I'd heard of this, the New York City blackout of 1977, which was the same year as this, which included a lot of looting and arson. Like, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on today. Again, I feel like we're reliving the 70s. I think I've said this before, but...
Just with more coverage.
Just with more coverage. So, yeah. So, we're talking a lot during this time, and that sets our scene for this movie. Go ahead and continue on. I do want to point out this real quick, like 3-second scene when they're setting the stage for this specific episode, and it shoots to Gus McConnell, his sidekick, who's like sitting at his mirror. And he kind of like looks down and then kind of up into the air. And it's like
that.
I swear, because it's the 70s, I swear he was like doing a cocaine shot.
Oh my, he's doing a line.
Yeah,
I missed that. I'm going to have to look for that.
The shoot. I just showed Brick that scene real quick. Definitely, he looks down. He's got something right in front of his mirror. He kind of shoots his head up, like he's clearing his nostrils a bit. Like he definitely was like a cocaine shot. So
like when they cut away, he's rubbing his gums.
Yeah, probably. So there's that. They do mention the Grove, which I'll get to in a minute. I don't want to get to that just yet. Actually, it was like I thought it would be a lot about the Grove throughout this whole movie, but it's kind of just like it's kind of an undercurrent.
I knew if nothing else, I knew that there would be a lot for you to dig into there. There's a bit, not as much as you'd think, but just because it's still pretty secretive. It's very secretive, but it's also like boring rich people. Yeah.
So.
I know that there's, and I remember like when it first got posted online or it was shown on TV or whatever. I know like at some point like somebody got in there and got footage.
They did.
Yeah, and like it was just kind of embarrassing because it's like it's just a bunch of grown-ass adults playing
warlocks, yes. It's okay, they could be doing more than it seems, but really knowing rich idiot men.
Yeah, which at that point just play D&D.
Really. It's yeah. Anyway. Anyway, please continue. I'll get to the Grove soon enough.
Okay.
But go ahead and...
Well, we are done with that opening, that little, quick shot documentary.
Only took us 48 minutes.
And now we get into the actual events. This is the start of the master tape. And the show begins like any late night show would. Gus, the announcer assistant, he's introducing Jack, who, comes out. He's hyping up the audience. He does a whole monologue. And he's telling everybody, thank you for sticking by me through this last year, talking about how hopeful he is that the show's going to be a success. This is sweeps week, so we really need this to go well. And he lets them know, like, the theme of this show is going to be focusing on the occult because it's Halloween and, not really saying, and because I really need a lot of people to watch this.
I mean, basically, though.
Yeah.
Like,
he literally at one point begs.
Yeah.
It's like dry begging.
Dry begging.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, and I just want to point out, because I call him this a couple times throughout and I didn't even realize it until I was almost done with my notes. I keep referring to Gus as poor Gus. That poor man.
I mean, really, you're not wrong.
Like, I hope he was doing cocaine.
I hope he was high as hell because... Dude.
Because dude had to have something going on. God damn, they were so mean to this man. And then just like the way he ended. My God. Well, they officially start their show. And to kick off this occult-themed show, he brings out a psychic medium named Christou.
Which I really wanted to say Christo because that would make more sense. But it's Christou.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, he comes out and, like, wearing gold lame, which I didn't even really know that I knew what gold lame was until I saw...
The fact you know that word lame.
Couldn't tell you how I know it, but no idea. But, just he's very gaudy.
Which is very 70s.
Very 70s. And I want to point out, just because I will say why when we get there, he has a very, very thick accent.
Yes.
Just want to point that out. We'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
But anyways, so he is a psychic medium. He claims that he can speak to the dead. And he even claims that he can basically turn it on and off like a radio. Well, he begins his demonstration. And anyone who is familiar with the theory of cold reading, the people who do this for a living to scam people. So he starts off very vague. I have a connection. Somebody is making a connection. I have a P. Pete? Peterson? And then somebody in the audience, Peterman? That's it. It's Peterman. Oh, that's my wife's maiden name. She's here with us now. And then it goes into this big thing of the guy making jokes. No, his wife's not dead. She ran off with a neighbor, I think he said. And, Elizabeth, no, Helen, and whatever. It ends up being a big joke anyways. And you find out later that the producer, Leo, planted this guy. Or at least that's the way I read it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Because he asks something like, oh, what did you think of our friend Peterman? And that's the way I took it.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, it was like, goddamn, you bring the dude on your show and you like purposely set him up to fail, which...
I mean, they do that.
Yeah.
They do that shit.
So, anyways, he's not getting anywhere with this guy. So, of course, I've lost the connection. The spirit has left. And I love his excuse is because, the cameras and the lights, they can influence.
Mess with things.
Yeah. Well, but he gets another connection. And this time he goes to these two women in one of the front rows. And it is a mother and daughter. They have lost their son, the sister's brother.
Yeah. And
he's telling them details. And it seems like he's got real, actual details.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I was like, oh my God, he's sincere. Like, he's legit. And we find out later he's not. But it's pretty sad. He does give them that, like, hope of, like, he's moved on. He is at peace.
I mean, yeah, God,
it's such a mixed bag.
So mixed bag. I don't like that it's in reality. I don't like that a lot of it is fake, the ones that do it for money, but having met people I believe are legit, knowing even if it's fake, the hope it gives some people, like, that's all you need. Yeah. Even if you know it's fake.
Some people need that, and I'm not going to knock them for it.
Honestly, having been there, even if deep down I'm like, it's probably fake, sometimes just hearing it is all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need to be told it's fake. They know it's fake.
Right. The only thing I have a problem with is the people that are making money off of it. The people
absolutely.
That are, extortion, really.
Yeah, extortion is a little different, and they're like literally scamming people out of money, and they continue to scam the people out of money. Like, if you're gonna scam $20, like $20 might be worth it to say it's, you know, like, oh, hey, cool. But the people that keep coming back and like taking more money, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this.
But anyways, so he makes this, I made my connection, okay, he is at peace, okay, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yeah, it was a really nice scene for what it was at that point.
And, you know, the demonstration's over and they're about to go to commercial, but before Jack can send the audience to commercial, Christu starts yelling, he's grabbing his head, his eyes are rolling back into his head.
Yeah, like for real.
And this is why I mentioned he has a thick accent. It knocked the accent out of him.
Oh my God, I missed that part.
I didn't catch it until watching it for this. I never watched or caught it when I was just watching it to watch it. But yeah, all of a sudden his accent is gone. So like, even that was fake.
Yeah, so we just watched the scene, but yeah, he loses his accent. That's a good catch.
And he's going into another connection, I guess, but this time legitimate. He says, does anyone here know a mini? Please accept. And they're, you know, kind of looking around like, you know, does anybody know who this could be? You know, it's a mini. Please accept. And he tells them, I see a lot of sadness and I see a man, an unmarried man with a wedding ring. I do love the, you know, will you accept? Like it's a collect call.
Yeah, like, I mean, kind of, like, yeah.
And, you know, the lights flicker. He says the spirit is gone and they cut to commercial and he's looking pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, Leo, the producer, he comes over and he offers Christu a bourbon.
Right.
And he asks for water and I love it. Leo, in this place? I'll see what I can do.
I really liked that too. I really
and Gus gets these great little like 2-line spots that give you ideas of what's going on.
Yep.
And he comes up and he asks Jack, you know, he's really nervous because he's noticed backstage, he's noticed knives and restraint.
Yes. What's coming up here?
Yeah, what's going on?
What are we preparing?
Right. And, you know, Leo, he just kind of shoos him away. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I love this movie. God, Brick, this was perfect.
This is a good one. I very much like it. So Jack is getting ready. They're about to come back from commercial. And his next guest is going to be a man who debunks paranormal and psi phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So he sort of, you know, lets Christu know, you know, who's coming on. And he says, don't worry about him. He's all wax and no wick. And that'll come into play later. So anyways, Jack introduces Carmichael, previously known for his illusion work, but more specifically his talent for group hypnosis. But now he runs a society, the IFSIP, the International Federation of Scientific Investigation into the Paranormal.
Here. All right, so this is interesting because we're the skeptics movement. I didn't know about this, but this was a real thing. First, I'll just start off with like famous paranormal mediums of the time. As mentioned, like people were really getting into the occult in the 70s. It's interesting because for me, people were more into the occult in the 60s, but no. I mean, they were.
I didn't realize.
But apparently it really took off in the 70s.
And I didn't realize that either.
And that's for a lot of things. Like, the 60s seems to be so wild and crazy, but it was the 70s. Let me tell you. Like, that's when things really took off for so many things. A couple famous folks in this time were like George Anderson and Gene Dixon. So George Anderson, he was actually like the first medium in history to appear regularly on a cable television show, and the first medium to gain international exposure for his extraordinary ability, and the only medium to be cleared by network television standards and practices to appear on the first ever primetime special on mediumship, Contact, talking to the dead. He is the only living medium to have been invited to Holland by surviving members of the family of Anne Frank, and he remains the most scientifically tested medium on Earth. Anderson has even been featured in newspapers and on television, and is a New York Times best-selling author of Walking in the Garden of Souls, George Anderson's Lessons from the Light and Life Between Heaven and Earth. And then another one people may know of is Jean Dixon, who was an astrologer and gained national prominence as a psychic when her prediction that President Kennedy would die in office came true. So in 1956, Parade magazine quoted Dixon as predicting that a Democratic president who would be elected in 1960, a tall young man with blue eyes and brown hair, would die in office. So according to her, she told interviewers that the president would be assassinated. That was a prediction that they didn't publish. So when that happened, President Kennedy, her fame took off. So after President Kennedy's death in 1963, the National notice that Dixon received led political columnist Ruth Montgomery to write a book, A Gift of Prophecy, The Phenomenal Jean Dixon. And that recounted hundreds of quote-unquote accurate predictions made over the years. And then the book, published in 1965, sold more than 3 million copies and brought Dixon even more demand on the lecture circuit and a syndicated horoscope column. She also wrote a series of books including My Life and the Prophecies in 1968, Reincarnation and Prayers to Live By in 1970, The Call to Glory in 1972, Yesterday, Today, and Forever in 1976, Jean Dixon's Astrological Cookbook in 1976, A Gift of Prayer in 1995. So obviously, not all of Dixon's forecasts proved true. She predicted, for instance, that World War III would begin in 1958 over the offshore Chinese islands of Quemoy and Matsu, and that labor leader Walter Reuther would run for president in 1964, and that the Soviets would land the first man on the moon. Dixon was born in 1918, and in 1939, she married James Dixon, a California auto dealer who would later become a real estate executive in Washington. She also claimed to have been invited to the White House twice to give consultations to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. We have no idea if that's true. She was a devout Roman Catholic, and at aged 8, she was taken by her mother to a gypsy fortune teller who said that she had a gift for prophecy, which her mother encouraged to develop. And I prominently know her because she appeared as herself in the Golden Girls episode A Little Romance, where she was hired to predict the future, but struggled to get a clear reading on the girls' futures. This was a dream episode where Rose sees her father as a little person while she's dating a little person and deciding if she would marry.
Okay.
So that's a little bit on George Anderson and Jean Dixon, just to talk about some of the prominent mediums that were here during this time. On the other side, we have the skeptics movement, which was a real thing. Yes. So the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, CSI, which is now formally known as the Committee for Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, is a program within the U.S. It's a nonprofit organization, which is through the Center for Inquiry, which seeks to, quote unquote, promote scientific inquiry, critical investigation, and the use of reason in examining controversial and extraordinary claims. The committee officially launched on April 30th, 1976, so right before this movie is set to take place, and was co-chaired by Paul Kurtz and Marcello Truzzi. In the early 1970s, scientific skeptics were concerned that the interest in the paranormal was on the rise in the United States, part of a growing tide of irrationalism. In 1975, Kurtz, a secular humanist, initiated a statement, quote-unquote, Objections to Astrology, which was co-written with Bart Bach and Lawrence E. Jerome and endorsed by 186 scientists, including 19 Nobel laureates. Very significant. The statement was published in the American Humanist Association's newsletter, The Humanist, of which Kurtz was then editor. And according to Kurtz, the statement was sent to every newspaper in the United States and Canada.
So real quick, somebody else who was a part of that was James Randi, who Carmichael is based off of.
Okay, all right.
He was part of that society. I do have that in my notes, and actually where you said it changed, the original name was changed.
Yeah, it's so short.
So in my notes, it's the, CSICOP, so PsyCop or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's the shorter title, and I was like, well, how the fuck did I get that out of that? So that explains that. Okay.
Yep. So, originally it was like PsyCop, and then it was CSI.
Yeah, okay.
Which
so
obviously would get very confusing nowadays because CSI is a whole other thing.
Right. But yes, Carmichael is based off of one of the members of that. Yeah,
so Brick actually has, which I didn't end up getting into, is who these people are based on, just how the movie was written. So
he is the only one that I made notes on, just because there's so much.
Yeah, there's so much. Like, these people are probably all of these people are amalgamation of several people.
Christu, Jack, Lily,
I just talked about a couple.
Pretty much everybody is based off of somebody.
Yeah, and just a quick thing about the humanist movement. I find this interesting because obviously the humanist movement has been an ongoing thing for a very long time. But the humanist movement's really interesting because it's like it is based on being atheist, but kind of with a more humane bent, I guess.
Is this the same humanist movement that Thomas More promoted?
It could be.
Okay.
It could be. It would make sense. I don't want to give a 100% yes to that, but yeah, it's been ongoing for a long time. It kind of took off again in this era, especially with on the back of atheism. But so the humanist movement emphasizes reason, scientific inquiry, and compassion to solve problems, which would track for Thomas More.
That would fit.
And when Brick mentions Thomas More, that's in the 1500s. He was around when King Henry VIII was around, and King Henry VIII beheaded him. That's a whole other thing. But he was quite a prolific writer and quite a thinker of the time. The humanist movement also believes that individuals are responsible for creating a meaningful and ethical life for themselves and for all of humanity. It advocates for human rights, social justice, and democracy, and it stands outside of any religion, believing in living your best life without any ties to religion or a belief in a life beyond this one, which is very important distinction. So there's a reason they don't say oh, well, we're just atheists, because they just want to stand outside of all that black and white thinking. It's where people like to call it frou-frou, but it's really more than that. Basically, I won't even go beyond that, but it's a really interesting movement. Going back to the skeptics movement. So in order to carry out its mission, they quote unquote maintain a network of people interested in critically examining paranormal, fringe science, and other claims, and in contributing to consumer education, preparing bibliographies of published materials that carefully examine such claims, encourages research by objective and impartial inquiry in areas where it is needed, convenes conferences and meetings, publishes articles that examine claims of the paranormal, does not reject claims on a priori grounds, antecedent to inquiry, but examines them objectively and carefully. Love it. It's really important. As we mentioned earlier, we tend to believe the paranormal exists, but we look at all the skepticism as well, so we appreciate the work that is put in to look at the reality of situations. So, and as a side note, today, CSI, as it's known, was quoted to consider pseudoscience topics to include yogic flying, therapeutic touch, astrology, fire walking, voodoo, magical thinking, Uri Geller, which I have no idea what that is.
No clue.
Alternative medicine, which is definitely a problem of today. Channeling, psychic hotlines and detectives, near-death experiences, unidentified flying objects, the Bermuda Triangle, homeopathy, which is a problem, faith healing.
Also a problem.
Yes. And reincarnation. CSI changes its focus with the changing popularity and prominence of what it considers to be pseudoscientific and paranormal beliefs. For example, as promoters of intelligent design increase their efforts to include it in school curricula in recent years, CSI has stepped up its attention to the subject, creating an Intelligent Design Watch website, publishing numerous articles on evolution and intelligent design in Skeptical Inquirer and on the internet.
Okay.
So, CSI is concerned with paranormal or pseudoscientific claims that may endanger people's health or safety, such as the use of alternative medicine in place of science-based healthcare. Investigations in CSI and others, including consumer watchdog groups, law enforcement, and government regulatory agencies, have shown that the sale of alternative medicines, paranormal paraphernalia, or pseudoscience-based products can be enormously profitable. CSI says this profitability has provided various pro-paranormal groups large resources for advertising, lobbying efforts, and other forms of advocacy to the detriment of public health and safety. And I put this note in C Goop.
Oh, God.
From Gwyneth Paltrow. If you need an example of what all that jargon say, think about like Goop and all these like yogic retreats and oh God. So there's so many examples. So I'm actually like, yay, glad these people are out there. So,
and if you're in America, or if you are following anything that's happening in America, we need them right now.
I am glad they're out there, especially as we can't even count on the government to do their stuff.
That does make me think of the coworker that kept trying to get me to buy essential oils from her and drink alkaline water to cure my chronic illness.
Look, I like essential oils. They smell real good, but I'm not going to trust them to replace my medication.
No. Yes, so Carmichael comes on, and this guy is such a dick.
He really is, like...
But I want to have dinner with him. I want to hang out and talk to him.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know what the hell that is. Earlier tonight, Birdy's husband asked if I was possibly some kind of a masochist, you know, enjoying when people, like, tell me off or put me in my place, you know, the people that don't stand for my shit and tell me about it. And, you know, I think he might be right. Thinking about it now, because I kind of want to hang out with that son of a bitch.
I mean, you know, I honestly wish they'd had a slightly more compassionate character, just because, like, skepticism is so important.
Yeah.
But I get, like, a lot of those people come off that way. Like, and it played true to character. He
did even, like, specifically say that he is worried for the welfare of Lily, but he does it in such a condescending way.
It was very paternal, and we don't do it with that paternal shit. Yeah. So, yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, he comes on, and, you know, we're hearing about his career. He's debunked all these people, you know, people that claim to be psychic, being able to bend spoons. He went to the Amityville house, and he is so certain that he can debunk all these things that he carries around a check worth $100,000 for anyone who's able to prove that their claims are true. And stealing from one of our favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder, would you like to guess what the $100,000 in 1977 would be worth today?
Oh shit, you're going to do this to me? All right, let me think. 1977. Just under 500,000?
Just over.
Shit.
Good job.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've learned. $534,613.86.
All right.
So Carmichael points out that what Christou did is an old trick. He's talking about cold readings, and also points out how he was wrong 5 times before he supposedly got the connection, the Peterman connection, and that his connecting with the family of the young man who passed away, that this was a coincidence. We do learn, as you know, we covered, it's not a coincidence, but it still was not legitimate.
Yeah.
He calls Christou a cheat, and I love that this fucking dramatic ass man, Christou, stands up and throws a glass of water.
Yes, he does. I kind of love it.
That was fantastic.
And he walks off.
Yes, he storms off stage. So before he can get backstage, though, Jack stops him, and he admits that he thinks that the third connection was actually meant for him. And he says that Minnie was his secret pet name for his deceased wife, Madeline. Yeah. And as a widower, he is an unmarried man with a wedding ring.
Which, if this was an actual scenario, that would be quite interesting.
Right.
That would be quite interesting.
And Carmichael then challenges Christou to, do this again, make this connection again. But before anything can really happen, Christou, he starts like kind of heaving.
Having a physical reaction.
And he collapses, and he just projectile vomits this black tar nastiness onto Carmichael and then straight at the camera. And we get a station card before they cut to break. I don't know what they're actually called.
It's fine. It's fine.
But, we'll be right back. So during this break, Christou is rushed off stage, and that's when we see the woman who we later learn was talking to the family. But he is rushed backstage to get help. Carmichael is pissed off about his jacket, and Gus rushes to distract the audience. And I love it. You get so who's here from out of town? He runs to distract them, and Carmichael is kind of grilling Jack, how did Christou know this information? How did he know about Minnie? And then he's kind of grilling him about the Grove. He wants to be invited specifically so he could learn if the rumors about orgies are true.
Yeah.
Which, okay. Get it? Whatever. And Leo pulls him away and tells him that, they're getting a ton of calls about what just happened, but so far they've not gotten anything from the president, the UBC president. As they come into the next segment, Jack even apologizes, I want to apologize for anyone who was offended or upset by what happened. But did you notice when he says that, he smirks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fucking douche.
I mean, he's
not a horrible guy, but he's not a great guy. So going into this next segment, he introduces that their next guests are going to be Dr. June Ross Mitchell, author of the book Conversations with the Devil, and the subject of the book Lily. And this is where we get our second documentary style piece. And it's kind of like a promo reel from Dr. June, and it explains the background of her work, how she met Lily, and their work together. In this video, Dr. June explains that there was a cult called the Church of Abraxas, led by a man named Diabo. The church eventually comes to the attention of the FBI because there's rumors of kidnapping, firearm offenses, and stories that they are breeding children to use as human sacrifices, which that just ties into like the satanic panic stuff.
Yes.
Diabo claims that anyone who witnesses the sacrifice will be under the power of Abraxas and forced to do his bidding. I'm not sure if they cover this then or later, but that's in there. The FBI stages a raid, and this is where we see the footage from the symbiote. This is where we see the footage of an actual raid. And it leads to a 3-day standoff that only ends when Diabo commands his followers to set fire to themselves and the house. There is one survivor, a 10-year-old girl named Lily, who has almost no memory of her life with the cult. And eventually the FBI contacts Dr. June at her Psi Research Center because they can't explain Lily's odd behavior and things that happen around her. And Dr. June, in her work, discovers that Lily has a demon inside her, and she learns that she can summon him, and she does so repeatedly in order to study Lily and this demon. When they come out, Lily, and this obviously was on purpose, she seems like somebody pretending to be a normal human.
Yes.
And obviously that is on purpose, but this young lady did fantastic.
Oh my gosh, this actress speaking in the actual, like, how they did this movie, the way she kept, like, staring at the camera, the awkward looking at the camera, like, not staring, but, like, looking at the camera, and the way she positioned her body and everything. Like, I loved it so much. It was so creepy.
Yeah, it
was so
amazing.
creepy.
Yes. And Lily immediately rats June out for finding Jack attractive, and she asks him, "You're the man whose wife died from cancer."
This whole setup was beautiful, and just, like, talking about all these little bits just brought up a lot. Like, just the fact that, like, Sazandor Diabo, the cult leader, Diabo, Diablo, the Spanish word for devil. Like, okay, great. All right. They're very on the nose on a lot of this stuff, but they did it so well, right?
There was something about that too. I can't remember exactly, that they thought about making it more like Diablo, but then it would just be too
that's a step too far.
It's a step too far, and it's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
Abraxas, I don't even need to go into this too much, but, like, Abraxas is based on an actual demon.
I had no idea until I was looking stuff up about this.
Yep, that's actually based on one of many demons from, olden days. I couldn't even, like, copy a lot of that. So, it's from, like, it means, like, a great archon. It's from the Gnostic text. If you know any, like, I don't even know how deep to go into. It's just they picked a name of a demon that's been around for a really long time. Like, it's Greek, it's Roman, it's based on, like, stuff from, a lot of Greek writers, based on a demon that in a lot of depictions it's a man with a chicken head and snake legs. Yeah, just Google it. You'll see it. So I won't go much further than that. And since we did mention the Grove, I'll go into a little bit about the Grove. Like I mentioned earlier, in the end, it's just boring rich men doing boring rich men things.
Wanting to feel big, bad, and important.
Yeah. So, but the start of it is actually more interesting than where the Grove is nowadays. So, it's the Grove, also known as the Bohemian Grove, is a restricted 2,700 acre campground in Monte Rio, California. This is a real place. It was founded in 1878, so at the height of the Gilded Age. Surprise, surprise. It belongs to a private gentleman's club known as the Bohemian Club. And mid-July each year, the Bohemian Grove hosts a 2-week encampment of some of the most prominent men in the world. And this tradition of a summer encampment was established 6 years after the founding of the club in 1872 by Henry Edwards, who was a stage actor and founding member. He announced that he was relocating to New York City to further his career, so he kind of had like a going away party kind of on June 29th, 1878, where a little bit fewer than 100 bohemians, quote unquote, gathered in the Redwoods in Marin County near Taylorville, which is present day Samuel P. Taylor State Park, for that evening send-off. Freely flowing liquor and some Japanese lanterns put a glow on the festivities, and club members retired at a late hour to the modest comfort of blankets laid on dense mat of redwood needles. So this festive gathering was repeated the next year without Edwards, and then became a yearly encampment. So, and it just kind of kept going, but it also was like an all-male membership. So this membership includes artists and musicians, as well as many prominent business leaders, government officials, former U.S. presidents, senior media executives, and people of power. Members may invite guests to the Grove, Guests may be invited to the Grove for either the Spring Jinx in June or the main July encampment, and members can also schedule private day use events at the Grove anytime that is not being used for club-wide activities. And they're allowed at these times to bring spouses, family, and friends, although female and minor guests must be off property by 9 or 10 p.m.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So how did it become, like, one of the questions I had was like, how did it turn from a arts and literary club into like this club of exclusive influential men? Well, it kind of began early on, where it began as a social club for male artists, writers, and journalists, but as they invited more and more influential people and politicians, it kind of just organically shifted to an elite institution. So it just kind of happened, I guess, which kind of makes sense. Oh, elite people. Well, we don't want these lesser people, so we just keep inviting the elite people, right. And then we're just going to make it more and more exclusive. So, and that still stands today. Even though membership guidelines don't explicitly require a 7-figure bank account, the membership fees are hard to pay without one. Even today, this is going by today's numbers, the initial joining fee is $25,000.
Jesus.
And then you still have to pay yearly fees on top of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they make it exclusive. And this is all assuming that you can even get in to the exclusive 2,500 member club. So yeah, that sounds like a lot of people, but if you're like considering everybody,
yeah.
And if it's that exclusive, 2,500 members gets pretty full pretty quick, right?
I bet you it's a sea of white people.
It's a sea of white people. Yeah, absolutely. So new members also must be recommended by several current members. Not just one, several. One former guest told All That's Interesting news article that the average time on the wait list for the club is usually between 20 and 30 years.
Damn.
Years. Though it's faster if you can play an instrument. Quote unquote.
What?
Yeah. So in 1989, the wait list was 33 years long.
Okay.
After 40 years of membership, though, the men can earn the quote unquote old guard status, giving them the reserved seating at the Grove's daily talks as well as other parks. So, yeah, and the club's motto is "Weaving spiders come not here," which is an Shakespearean quote from Midsummer Night's Dream. So that means, like, it implies that outside concerns and business deals like networking are not supposed to be brought into the Grove.
Oh.
But, you know, when you're gathered in groups, and they usually adhere to that, but discussion of business does happen between pairs of members. So there is a long-term, and this kind of speaks to the movie and it speaks to other things, is that important political and business deals have developed at the Grove significantly. There was a planning meeting for the Manhattan Project.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and the development of the atomic bomb.
Whoa. I would not have.
Yeah, so there's a little bit on that there. So yeah, it is interesting. I am interested in how that whole history developed, especially from an artsy-fartsy kind of origin story. Boring continuation other than like, yeah, people do own us. So, and they're talking about it while they drink hottie toddies in the forest.
Lovely.
And do very homoerotic things.
Hell yeah.
In their all male sauna fest. and just as a note, talking back to this whole Abraxas cult that they're talking about, I feel like this really, and maybe this is another point, I feel like this really speaks to like the Jonestown Massacre, which happened literally the year supposedly after this in 1978. We're thinking Heaven's Gate, which that didn't actually happen until 1997, but like we're, you know, all the culty doomsday cults, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Please continue us.
So after this very interesting introduction for Lily and Dr. June, they immediately go to a break. And during this break, did you catch this when the makeup artist was touching up Lily's makeup and Jack said something about like, we need to, get pretty. And when she says, don't I already look pretty, Jack? That was Minnie's voice. That was Madeline's voice.
Oh, see, I missed that. Okay.
June is telling Jack that, she thinks this is a bad idea. She thinks they should walk back on what they were planning to do because Lily has been getting unpredictable. And she said that she went into a fugue state and was talking about Jack, but in a way as though she was recalling a memory, talking about trying to remember somebody that she theoretically had not met.
Oh.
But Jack pushes forward and, of course he's like, you need to do this. Basically for your career, you need to do this. This is the next step. We also see Leo comes and tells Jack that Christu has died on the way to the hospital. He hemorrhaged in the ambulance.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That they actually killed him off.
And, Jack's like, nobody can know about this, especially not Gus. So, poor
Gus. Poor Gus.
Yeah. So, and I love this little, the stage director walks through and goes, where's my sacrificial dagger? I love the little side conversations. And this is when we see Carmichael talking to the mom and the sister, realizing how Christu did that.
100% underrated film, by the way.
We come back from break and June is describing her work and the type of things that she researches. And this is including demon possession, which she calls psychic infestation, which sounds disgusting. And she's talking about how for the last 3 years, she has been, quote, combining age regression therapy with a growing understanding of ancient satanic rituals, unquote, which basically means she's winging it while she tries to treat this child.
Yeah, like she acts, I love how they present her this whole movie. Like she wants to know what she's doing. She's trying to act in control and like she's protecting Lily, but in the end she is winging it and she has no idea what the fuck she's dealing with.
Yeah. Just real quick, because we've said that we do believe in paranormal. If you ever are seeking somebody to help you with something in that vein, please. And I know it's hard to fact check this sort of thing, but ask around.
Oh yeah. And honestly, like, PSA, just don't.
Yeah.
In the end,
it can go so badly. It can go so badly. Just
don't. If we can warn you off of anything, just don't.
So June is explaining that she does not believe that Lily is possessed by Abraxas, but by a minor demon who serves Abraxas.
Ah.
And while she's explaining this in her work, Carmichael, he keeps making these comments, and he's making these comments, kind of poking fun at her
and dismissing
and being very dismissive. And she, I don't know exactly what she said. She says something, basically like you don't need to show off kind of a thing. And he points out that Abraxas was a consummate showman, and that the name Abraxas even inspired the magician's phrase abracadabra. And I'll tell you why I wanted to point that out, because I didn't notice it until this last watch. June points out that she has these items displayed that she says were recovered from the fire after the cult. June points out that she has different artifacts on display that after the cult burned down the house, these were relics that they recovered from the ashes. And, Carmichael, he's immediately like, he grabs the knife and starts pretending. Anyways, he's being a dick.
Yeah, really. He's really he's not presenting the skeptic movement very well.
No. And Lily explains that she calls the demon Mr. Wriggles because he wriggles in and out of her mind. And just then, a theremin that Gus had been using earlier in the episode starts going off by itself. It's screeching, and everybody's covering their ears, and oh god. And Gus tries to turn it off, and he's zapped with electricity, and Carmichael goes and he unplugs it, and he says it was feedback into your PA system.
Yeah.
And Lily insists that no, it was Mr. Wriggles. And Jack immediately discounts June's hesitation, and he jumps on this. Are you saying that he's here? He's here with us right now? Do you think we can invite him to come out? And Lily is 100% on board with this. Jack, obviously, the audience is all excited, and June's trying to, no, we shouldn't do this, but Lily is begging her, and she finally relents. And we get Jack very seriously looks down into the camera. In a television first, we are going to attempt to commune with the devil. But not before a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, like, it's so true, though.
That's exactly how they would do it.
True to character.
Yeah, it's just
true to character.
I love it. During the break, Gus tries to talk Jack out of this and tells him that he and the crew, they already know that Christu is dead. And Jack just completely disregards this. And once they come back from break, June and Lily, they're set up kind of downstage. And Lily is restrained in the chair. June is explaining to the audience that no matter what they hear or see, they need to stay calm and quiet, and she begins to put Lily into a trance. Really, originally I wrote hypnotized, but she argues that she doesn't do that. Yeah.
I do find it interesting, though, to call back to the beginning of the movie, which I didn't think about till now, is that because Gus talks about the restraints and stuff, it's like, did Jack expect that there would be this whole setup, right?
I think so. I don't know if it was like an absolute, like, this is what we're going to do, but I think he was hopeful.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, because
maybe he was planning to push it even if June...
Yeah, was he going to bring it up even if it didn't organically happen, where Lily was like, oh, Mr. Wriggles is here, because it kind of, quote unquote, happened organically, but...
Yeah, he found an opening and he ran with it.
He was obviously prepared for something.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. Okay. So as Lily goes into this trance, June asks if she can speak to Mr. Wriggles, and Lily, she starts thrashing in the chair, and she starts laughing, and she greets June, and I like this. She's speaking with two voices. She's speaking with her voice, but also over top of that, this really deep, gravelly, spooky voice.
Those ones always get me. Yeah. They're always creepy.
Her face has changed too, and I like that it was pretty subtle.
It was subtle, but it was very Exorcist.
Yes.
Which I think I mentioned earlier, or I might have mentioned to you outside of this or not, but so many callbacks to The Exorcist and everything, which came out around this time. A little earlier.
In the 70s.
Or a little earlier in the 70s. I have it somewhere in my notes. But
and her the character of Lily is based off of Reagan.
Okay. So, got it.
But I like the way, I know, right? You are on fire.
I'm on point tonight. Sorry.
No, you're good. Mr. Wriggles looks at Jack and tells him that it's nice to see him again. And Jack's like, what are you talking about? We've never met before. And Mr. Wriggles says, we go way back. We met amongst the tall trees, remember? And then they just move on. Mr. Wriggles, he then mentions that June is attracted to Jack, but tells her to be careful, quote, you know what happened to his last whore. She died an ugly, ugly death, unquote, which, god damn, that's rough.
Yeah.
And she starts mocking June, and this is another thing I didn't catch until this last watch. So she's, Jack and June go up the hill to fuck each other's brains out.
I heard that,
and
yeah.
When she said it the second time, they bleeped the word fuck. So even in that, they're like, oops, it's live TV. We missed it.
Oh, I missed that.
It's one of the things I love about this movie. Every freaking time I watch it, I catch something.
It's so good.
But as she's mocking her, June ends up slapping her. And
yeah, which, I don't know, that felt so out of place.
Yeah.
That part seemed out of character.
And I wonder if maybe the demon had never been that vulgar with her before. Which is fair.
I could see that, but also just, I don't know. Even June so was like,
even she seems surprised. Yeah.
Which also could be a possession side effect of affecting the people around you and causing violence around you. Ooh, I didn't think about that. Because if June was even like, wait, why did I do that? Like, anyway.
Yeah, she even looks surprised that she did it.
So, boy, we're really into this movie.
So Mr. Wriggles pretends to cry like Lily, and as soon as June gets close to her, Mr. Wriggles lashes out, and then the chair starts to levitate. And June holds up this amulet and she starts to recite, an incantation. She's, banishing the demon, but he's reciting it back to her, looks at Jack and asks, and again in Madeline's voice, "How could you let it happen, Jack? How could you let it happen?" And he looks upset. One of the things I wonder is if the demon all this time did not have to be banished, but just kind of let June exist.
Yeah.
Until they got to this where they wanted to be, and now it's like, fuck you. I don't have to go. Now I'm in control. I am in the situation, and
that would make sense. I mean, I could see that.
This is where we see the blue electricity. It starts kind of flying again. The chair is levitating. Her nose is bleeding, and then suddenly everything is over. Lily is back, or seems to be, and everyone is just flabbergasted. Carmichael is pissed, and he immediately wants to prove that it was all fake. And Jack agrees that he can do so, but not before these messages. So they cut to break.
So I'll just point out, like, again, another parallel to something that happened in the 70s. And I know there's this throwaway line somewhere, and I'm pretty sure it had happened already, where they also, like, and then Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they did kind of side-eye Ed and Lorraine Warren, which fair.
Deservedly so.
Deservedly so. Like, I remember being young and like, oh, Ed and Lorraine Warren, like, because even I heard about them in the 90s.
Yeah, when I first heard about them, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so, but then now, like, now knowing so much and so much has come out, it's like, oh God, fuck you guys. But like, so at the height of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were paranormal investigators,
paranormal psychic investigators,
and Lorraine's supposed to be kind of psychic. Ed was more just kind of manager dude, I think.
Yeah. But he supposedly had a skill for controlling and something about, like, he had a
little bit of power
controlling the demons.
Yeah, and you can look them. I feel like I'm not even sure how much to say, because they are quite famous even outside of our little, like, weirdo circles, right?
And even before, like, the Conjuring movies.
Yes, the Conjuring movies.
Yeah, have really brought them to the forefront.
If you know anything about the Conjuring movies, then you've probably heard of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, but even before that, back like the 70s, I'd say the 70s through the 90s, they were huge.
Huge. So the height of their fame, going back to that, was about the 1970s. Like, most of the depictions you'll see them is like in 1970s-esque clothing. Yeah. Like, they younger and looking good, like, and they're definitely at their height at that point. Like, if you've heard of Annabelle from the Conjuring movies, she came about in 1970. And then if you've heard about the Perron family in 1971, Amityville Horror, 1975, and then in 1977, there was the Enfield Poltergeist, which I mentioned previously, which over a period of 18 months, more than 30 people, including the Hodgsons, which was the family's neighbors, paranormal investigators, and journalists, said they variously saw heavy furniture moving of its own accord, objects being thrown across the room, and the sisters of that family seeming to levitate several feet off the ground. And I believe, I couldn't find it like clearly written out, but I believe there was like footage at some point, like supposed footage.
I know,
like the journalist got some or something. Like,
I know there were photos.
Photos.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be like, oh, these are the photos of the little girls levitating, but it's obviously just little children jumping on beds.
Yes, there's This one, super controversial. Just to continue, so the levitating, and then many people also heard and recorded the knocking noises and gruff voices, quote unquote. And there was a BBC documentary in 1978 that following that, there was all the speculation and debunking after that. So like this was an extremely famous, infamous, and deeply controversial event time period with the Enfield poltergeist and this family, and Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved. Some would say tangentially, because they kind of showed up on their own.
Yeah.
Like they weren't necessarily called to investigate. They just kind of showed up. And in fact, I saw a report at one point that they got turned away.
I think that's how it happened with the Perron family, too.
Probably. Like they just kind of inserted themselves.
I think so. So during this commercial break, the stage director, he's trying to get Lily out of the restraints, but he can't. And Jack ends up using the sacrificial dagger to cut the restraints. Jack pulls June aside, and the first time I watched this, I thought he was going to apologize for pushing her into this. No. He is very excited, and he says they need to come back and maybe even have a regular spot.
Oh, I hated that so much, but it was so...
I thought he was going to have, like, some little redeeming...
Oh, God, it was so true to character, though.
Yeah, like, let's continue to traumatize this child for ratings on a regular basis.
And everyone else.
Yeah. Gus, he goes to Leo. He goes over Jack. He goes to Leo to try to get them to stop what the hell is going on. And this is where I really felt bad for Gus, because Leo is telling him, don't bring me this shit and dial up your grin. And that was actually very sad. And you see, like, Gus kind of, like, put on the show smile. Dial it up. There you go. Don't say anything else about it. Carmichael, in one of, like, the only nice person moments, quote unquote, he tries to reassure Gus, and, it's all fake. And Gus tells him, we should have stopped the show when Christy died, which is a surprise to Carmichael. He had no idea.
Yeah, he was like, what? Mm-hmm. What? That kind of shook him a little bit.
A little, yeah. And Leo is telling Jack, that some of the crew members have walked off. The communications committee has called an emergency meeting, but the UBC director called, and he compared it to the moon landing. And, they're going to get renewed. So now it's great. Night Owl is safe. Jack is, he's gonna be renewed. He's fine. When they return from break, Jack apologizes for anyone that may have been upset or offended. Oh, and I see in my notes that this is actually where it was, that he apologizes for anyone that was upset or offended, but he smirks when he says it. So I see in my notes, this is when that actually happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Lily confirms that she's okay, but Carmichael interjects and he says he's worried for her welfare and her sanity. And June gets really angry, and she's insisting that everything she's doing is in her best interest and that she and Lily are family. And I didn't... That's a fucked up family.
It's a fucked up.
And this is another thing I didn't realize. When she says this, June reaches out to touch Lily's arm, and Lily very, very subtly, she shifts away from her.
I saw that. Like, that's why I was like,
yeah,
I don't know how close you are.
Right.
Like,
and I even rewound it and watched it to make sure, like, I didn't just... And it looks like June clocks it, too. So Carmichael, he accuses June of using hypnosis on Lily and just faking the entire thing. And Jack accuses him of just trying to get out of signing over the check. But Carmichael offers to prove it, and he makes poor Gus be his volunteer. And another little bit of foreshadowing, this is when Gus tells him, my wife likes the way my head sits on my shoulders. And Carmichael says, he promises he's going to make his head spin. He's going to make everybody's head spin. Carmichael tells Gus to look at his pocket watch, which turns into a spiral. And I think this was a practical effect. I don't know, but either way, it was pretty cool. It turns into a spiral, and he makes sure the camera is seeing this as well. So he wants everybody in the audience, the people at home, he wants everybody to watch this. And he's asking Gus to, tell me about your fear of worms. And Gus is surprised he knows this. Carmichael tells him that he is in a trance, and then when he clicks his thumbs, he'll be under his command. And when he does, Gus does seem to be in a trance now, and Gus and everybody, we hear this weird noise. And he's, what is that? And he's pulling off his jacket. He's saying that he's hot and he's itchy and he's, what's that on your neck? And like, a little bit of blood. I cut myself shaving. Well, then he pulls worms from his neck and he starts freaking out. And he's saying that he can feel them inside him, and he's pulling his stomach open, like his abdomen, and these worms are falling out. So now Gus is yelling, he's freaking out. The audience is freaking out. Jack and June are absolutely horrified. Lily is laughing, and Carmichael winks at the camera, and he's snapping his fingers as though he's trying to end it, but nothing is happening. He's, this wasn't supposed to happen, as this giant worm pops out of Gus's eye socket. But all of a suddenly Carmichael says, "Dreamer here, awake," and everything stops. Gus is half undressed, but otherwise he's okay, and he doesn't even remember what just went on. And when Jack asks Carmichael what he did, he says, exactly what June did, but better. In, asshole fashion, now would be the appropriate time to applaud. And he explains that what he did was group hypnosis. And to prove how he did this, they play back the tape. But this second watch, instead of seeing what we saw the first time, we see Carmichael suggesting everything, and Gus reacting as though all of this is really happening, when it's just Carmichael telling him what to see and hear and feel. And Lily suggests that they play back the tape of her and June to prove that it really happened. June wants to leave, but Lily begs her to stay so they can prove it's true. And as the video plays, we see it's exactly the same as the first watch. But Jack catches something, and he has them play it back again, frame by frame. And one of the frames they stop at, we see Madeline, his wife, standing behind him with her hand on his shoulder. And when it cuts back to Jack, you still see the hand there. So Carmichael, he's pissed, and he thinks it's been a setup from the start. And Jack's in shock. And Lily is crying. June is trying to comfort her. And suddenly Lily starts thrashing, and the blue electricity starts rolling over her body. Jack and June are calling, for somebody to come and help. The lights go out, and you get a very quick image of Madeline's face when the lights go out. And when they come back on, this is where shit just goes absolutely crazy. Lily is suspended in the air by the electricity. She's screaming, and then her head cracks open like those fucking Hatchimals that the kids love.
I loved this part.
It was crazy.
It was awesome. It wasn't gory, and it was awesome.
Yes.
Actually, it freaked my husband out real bad.
Did it?
He was like, but when her head cracked open, and I was like, I thought that was awesome. But
yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, her head cracks open, and there's like these blue flames coming out. And of course, everyone is rightfully freaking the fuck out.
Absolutely. Didn't they show like a tiny scene where the audience was running away at some point?
Yeah, you
So some people escaped. Some people did escape, which kind of made me feel better.
Yeah,
but
and we don't know, how many audience members didn't make it if they didn't.
Yeah, we don't know.
They do seem to be, they show it a couple times. They seem to be running for a long time.
Like some people just sat there for like, what?
You're right.
And then they ran, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Gus, poor Gus. He tries to help, and he takes his cross necklace and he starts yelling, "The power of Christ compels you." And,
Exorcist again. Yeah. Call back to The Exorcist.
And also a little nod to The Exorcist, and that foreshadow of my wife likes the way my head sits on my shoulders. His head spins backwards.
Right. Oh my god. Yes.
And so this Lily demon, doing all of this by force, throws Jack off stage, and when June tries to use the amulet and the incantation to regain control, instead she's lifted up by the necklace, which is strangling her and then ends up killing her.
Yep.
And that's why I wonder if the demon had this power to stay.
Yeah,
and just waited until
they could have done this at any point. Which also, I just realized her name, Lilith.
Yeah, I missed that until I was reading
it. Hit me.
Yeah.
Tiny details. Oh my god, how did this movie not, well, because it's a horror film, but how did this movie not get more
Attention?
It's
I don't know.
Perfect.
I didn't catch that until it was
the details.
It was in something that I was reading. I can't remember,
anyway,
but yeah.
Yes.
So Gus is dead. June is dead. Carmichael, this motherfucker sells out hard.
He does.
He falls to his knees and he's proclaiming his undying allegiance. And when he sees June killed, he tries to offer the demon the check.
He does. Money will solve everything.
And I only caught this because of subtitles. The demon says, abracadabra.
I caught that and I loved it.
Oh my God, I cracked up.
Much.
And yeah, he starts melting like wax. So, all wax, no wick. Yeah. And Leo is pulling Jack backstage. We get, static. It cuts to static and you see this little demon face kind of in there. And then it goes to a title card that reads Station Difficulties, and I couldn't help but think, who the fuck was in that production booth? Somebody had to
in this reality
and thought about it. And they're like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Oh, wait, I better put this up first.
Yeah, especially in the 1970s.
Yeah,
they literally have to hit a button.
Yeah.
Nothing is automated. There are people behind the cameras. There are people making the cards. There are people...
Yes. Somebody is watching all this shit go down.
Oh,
multiple people being killed in very quick succession. But before this, whoever it is needs to be hired for life.
They have to earn their paycheck.
Salary. I mean, they fucking earned that paycheck.
And that's what makes this movie spectacular and real, because someone would fucking do that.
Yeah. So Jack like I said, he was pulled off stage. Well, all of a sudden, the thing opens up again and Jack is standing there. There's an audience. The band is there. Gus is there. Jack is super confused and Gus is introducing him.
And if you notice, it's a different camera angles.
I didn't catch that.
So during this whole sequence, because it's kind of his reality, did you notice it's HD?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so Birdy just showed me where when we go into Jack's reality, Jack's perception, yes, the camera angle change and it all of a sudden is in very clear focus, it's in HD. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, they did this movie incredibly well.
God, I love this movie.
I know, it's so perfect.
Obviously, Jack is very confused, and we're kind of repeating some of the segments that we saw in the intro, including the bug lady, but this time she's got the giant worm that had popped out of Gus's eyes, and he sits through some of the other segments. He sits through Madeline's interview again, and then we see he is back at the press conference where he signed the UBC deal, and this time, it's much clearer when he is asked what he had to sacrifice. The UBC president says that his greatest sacrifice is yet to come and hands him a chalice. Masked and robed people lead him to Diabo, and I'm not going to go into great detail because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But they lead him to Diabo, and this person dressed in a large owl costume. He's surrounded by the people from the audience in their Halloween costumes, including the Cavendish people. He kneels in front of the owl. He's drinking from the chalice. Then everyone is gone. And we see Madeline sick in bed, still on set, on the show's set. And he goes over and he's holding her hand and she says, "They told you could have it all, but you had to pay a price. Exit Minnie, stage left."
Yeah.
Which I loved. I loved that line.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she tells him that his soul belongs to them and begs him to end her suffering. And he ends up using the sacrificial dagger is sitting there. He uses that to kill Madeline. All of a sudden, he flashes back to reality. And we see that he has actually killed Lily. Lily is dead. The others who have died, they're around. And he begins to repeat, "Dreamer here awake." But nothing changes. The master tape ends. We get a blank screen. And on the bottom, we see end transmission. But then it becomes, "So it is done."
And you hear over that last scene police sirens and stuff.
Yep.
They're coming for him. But my fun facts, I guess I'm going first this time.
Go ahead.
Is the Nielsen viewing ratings and the Nielsen viewing diary. This was kind of mentioned. God, this film was filled with just references to things, and it's amazing.
Do you remember when I did the Nielsen thing? I got just random in the mail, and it was
right.
Yeah, and it was
you actually got to do that.
Yeah. It was like a $5 bill and then this quick survey, and I sent that off, and then they sent me the diary and $30.
Nice.
Yeah.
So actually, the Nielsen ratings and the Nielsen viewing diary, obviously part of the Nielsen company system for gathering information from households about media listening and viewing habits. And that ran from 1945 until like the 1970s. And the data gleaned from these sample homes enabled campaign pollsters to track viewing patterns during candidates' television appearances and to refine the schedules of paid political advertising.
I just assumed it was always about...
I mean, it is.
I had no idea it had anything to do with that, though. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the Nielsen ratings are still used, but they have been updated to include the new technologies like streaming and have been expanded to incorporated quote-unquote big data plus panel measurement. So while the traditional panel-only system is being phased out... So it's the end of an era. Those ratings are not... and that makes sense because I've heard, like... I've been asking myself, what does the viewing ratings mean anymore?
Yeah.
You know? So the Nielsen's updated ratings remain a standard in the industry, and it's used by broadcasters, advertisers, and sports leagues for buying, selling, and evaluating content, but it is changing. And there's actually was a article in 2019 that basically, like, the headline is Nielsen to end panel-only ratings that have measured TV for decades. So I was wondering about that for a long time. So it has changed. So, and I can even get into that a little bit more in my outtake episodes too. But yeah, so I was like, what did this 40-50 share TV rating mean? And it's kind of like 40% of the audience, the whole audience of the viewing at home people is watching. Therefore, you get 50% of the shares. Something like that. I could be wrong, but it was something like that. It's
okay.
That's what that throwaway line was. Like, oh, we're at the 40-50 ratings, or it's really good, apparently.
Okay.
So I was like, what the fuck did that mean? But yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Like 40%.
Yeah, 40% viewing, 50% shares or something. So I do know, which that makes sense, you know, how many people at home are actually watching, because there was when I did it part of the instructions was even if you're not paying attention, if this is just on the background. Yep. And I might be wrong, but I think I had to mark that. Yeah, something remember, like you probably had to.
Was I actually watching, or is this just on while I was cooking dinner?
Which, like, 90% of the time.
Yeah, that was when it was a month. I want to say, I might be wrong. It's been several years, but after I filled out this Nielsen viewing diary and I was like getting it ready to mail back, I was like, God damn, that is a lot of screen time.
My last fun fact is another throwaway line was when they mentioned Jimmy Carter's brother.
Yeah.
I think just because, like, what the fuck with Jimmy Carter's brother? Like, the President Jimmy Carter. So about the CIA and the FBI watching him. And so this actually happened, but it actually happened, like, it actually came out in, like, 78 to 1980. So, like, after this would have happened. Okay. But I'm gonna forgive them. Like, whatever. So it was actually, like, called the Billy Gates scandal.
Of course.
And it was something about Bill Carter, so the brother of Jimmy Carter, and his financial ties to Libya and stuff that happened, wars and, you know, like, but in 1980, the Senate voted to investigate him, and there was, like, pins that was like, Billy Carter is a pisser.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Apparently, he relieved himself on an airport runway in front of the media. So, like, like, Jimmy Carter was just...
He was ahead of his time.
Like, he was ahead of his time.
Because, I mean, today's politicians, you were to do that, and they'd be like, yeah!
Yeah. Yeah, he registered as a foreign agent representing the Libyan movement, and he received, like, a bunch of money from that country's government. So like it's
very
kind
much
of
ahead of his
another
time.
like Joe Biden's son, didn't he like do something recent? Like he was getting money for something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, but her emails. But so anyway, that was a throwaway line I was looking at. Yeah, so those are my fun facts.
Okay.
So yeah.
So there's so many fun facts. If you're interested, absolutely check out the IMDb page. There's so much going on. I really had to pick and choose what I wanted to cut. But so first one is that traditional folklore tells us that if you make a pact with the devil, he will claim his payment in 7 years. And that's where we talked about that according to the movie's prologue, Delroy joined the Grove in 1969.
Wow.
And his wife passed in 76. So 7 years later.
Shit. Okay.
Yes. Also in the prologue, we see that at the end of the ceremony, Diabo declares, "So it is done," which is what we see in the final words of the master tape. Though this movie was set in New York, everything was filmed in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh.
Many of the actors are Australian. On that, the film's credits have a line, and I apologize, I wrote this out phonetically, but just in case I mispronounce this, I apologize. The film's credits have a line to, quote, "acknowledge the traditional owners and sovereign custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Wurrung language group. We extend our respect to their ancestors and all First Peoples and elders past, present, and future."
Awesome.
Unquote.
Great. So,
Yes.
like, the native peoples of the Aborigines of Australia.
Yeah, something that I can guarantee you're not going to see a lot of in America.
You do see it a bit more.
A bit more,
Throw
a
that
bit
out
more.
there, but I have not seen one on a movie.
Yeah.
So, love that. Yeah.
The spirit of Madeline can be seen several times
Yes.
throughout the movie, and I'm not going to say them all. If you want to, obviously keep an eye out for them, but if you want to see the list, it is on IMDb. But, two of the spots, when Jack is backstage and he's heading back out front, we see Madeline in a mirror. And when the theremin breaks the glasses on the table and you get that quick cut to the items, the relics on the table, you see her face in the crystal ball.
I missed that.
As we talked about, Carmichael, he is based on a real-life magician turned psychic. And my last fun facts are about him because this is just fantastic. So he is based off James Randi, who really was part of the organization that Birdy covered, and they really did offer a cash reward for anyone who could prove their abilities in a controlled environment. They never had to pay it out.
I feel like I heard this at some point.
And at one point, Carmichael mentions inviting Ed and Lorraine Warren to investigate the Amityville house. In real life, James Randi and a psychic, I don't know who, they were both invited by a local station, WNEW station in New York. They were both invited to go and investigate the house. Well, when they arrived, the psychic claimed that merely being at the location where everything happened was nearly overwhelming. Then the homeowner came outside, told them they were at the wrong house, and pointed them in the right direction. There is a documentary about James Randi, which I want to check out. It's called An Honest Liar, and it looks like it's available on Tubi. So I definitely want to check that out. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And those are my fun facts.
All right. Shall we do our sources?
Yes.
So I had several. I'm just going to name off some, and of course the rest will be in my show notes, but I'm going to name off the fun named ones. So the first one was about the Bohemian Grove, the little known history of Bohemian Grove, the summer camp for the Masters of the Universe, the Freedom of Information Act, the Nixon Collection, so actually a gov site. On this day in 1980, Senate votes to investigate Billy Carter. And then the horrific history behind the Théâtre du Grand Guignol in Paris and fading horrors of the Grand Guignol. After 60 years, the Paris theater that built its fame on the mountains of corpses is being forced to seek new ways of scarring the case-hardened audience out of their wits. Again, I will cover more of that in my outtakes episode. All right, shall you?
Yes. So obviously, IMDb and Wikipedia, as always. One of the things that I did not cover is there was some controversy about them using AI and the station cards.
Oh, yeah, I did see a vague reference to that.
And this is before AI became more widely used.
Yeah.
It was still taking work away from actual artists, so that was a controversy. There is a Mashable article by Belen Edwards, which I will include. One of the other articles I enjoyed is Making a Haunted 70s Set on a Low Budget.
Love it. Yeah.
A Variety article by William Earle, which I enjoyed. The gentleman who helped do the set was, at that time in Australia, he had been a local set designer in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So, like, he knew firsthand what to do.
That's actually really awesome.
Yeah. And then my last one, Decoding Late Night with the Devil by Carrie O'Shea with Warped Perspective.
Sweet. All right.
And all those will be included in the show notes.
All right. And for our next movie, we shall do my choice. We're going to do Ray from 2004, a movie I have seen and I loved, and it is about Ray Charles, the African-American singer-songwriter, and his biographical drama film, and it focuses on about 30 years in his life and everything that he went through, and it was an amazing film when I saw it in 2004, and that was a long time ago for me, and I think I will even appreciate it more now.
Yeah, so. I'm excited. I have not seen it. So.
Mm-hmm. So again, we're still sticking in the 20th century. Don't worry, we will go back further. But in the meantime, this is our last episode before launch.
Yes. I am excited. I'm a little nervous. Yeah,
we will be out in the public and hopefully being able to keep this consistently. We'll do our best.
So if you hear this, if you enjoy it, like, subscribe, share, pass it on,
Please.
Tell somebody about it.
And thank you for listening to Celluloid Chronicles, a historical movie podcast. Please like and subscribe to us wherever you listen, and we hope you join us again soon.
And always remember,
live like you're making history.